The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, presented by Kimberly Sexton. Thank you for being with me today. America's most unethical study, otherwise known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, was done in Macon County, Alabama from 1932 and ended in 1972. The United States government, they funded this study. They partnered with the United States Public Health Services and worked with the Tuskegee Institute to record the natural history and progression of syphilis, a known deadly venereal disease that can lead to blindness, deafness, insanity, and even death. Originally, this study was called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. There were 600 participants, 399 of which had syphilis and 201 without the disease. The participants of this study were African American, male, and poor. They had little to no medical experience, and some had never been seen by a doctor. This group of men were never informed that they had syphilis, nor did they get an informed consent obtained of what the study would entail. This unfortunate group of men were told that they had bad blood, which was a local term used to describe several ailments, including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue, according to the CDC. In exchange for participating, they received free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. However, they were also often subjected to painful medical procedures while only receiving aspirin and supplements for syphilis treatment. During this study, it is important to note that penicillin in 1943 became the treatment of choice for syphilis and was widely available. It also provided a cure for syphilis. Despite that, this group of men were denied treatment of penicillin even when they themselves began to suspect that they were positive for syphilis. This study only came to an end when a whistleblower, Peter Buxton, leaked the information about the study to the New York Times News. They put it on the front page on November 16th of 1972, entitled How We Sold Our Soul, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. By this time, only 74 of the test subjects remained alive. 128 had died from syphilis or its complications. 40 had passed it on to their wives, and 19 had had children born with acquired congenital syphilis. There are many ethical failures in this study. The first is that informed consent was never obtained. The participants were never informed of their diagnosis. They were lied to, misled, and even refused treatment when a known cure became widely available. They were chosen because they were black, poor, and uneducated. They were exploited by our government as human experiments for no benefits outside of documentation for the many ailments that syphilis could cause. They had their autonomy stripped away. They were not recognized as human beings, nor given any rights to determine their progress of care. They were not informed of their diagnoses, thereby allowing them to pass it on to their wives and several children. The participants were exploited because of the race and social status that they held in society, thereby not providing respect of persons. This study also failed to adhere to the principles of benefits and non-maleficence. This experiment starkly violated several key principles in research. Because of all these failures, there are no ethical or scientific lens that would support such a study today. This study lacked scientific merit. It provided no meaningful contributions to scientific knowledge, and researchers caused unnecessary harm by withholding treatment and subjecting participants to unnecessary medical procedures, leading to severe health complications for the participants. It lacked, as noted before on the previous slide, it lacked basic ethical principles such as respect of person, autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. This one study alone managed to change our nation's history by enacting laws that would protect all future study participants. The National Research Act of 1974 requires that all institutions receiving federal support must establish institutional review boards to oversee research projects and protect the rights of the human subjects. Furthermore, in 1979, the Belmont Report was released as ethical principles and guidelines for the protection of human subjects of research. This guaranteed participants basic ethical principles such as respect of persons, beneficence, and justice. Respect of person incorporates at least two ethical convictions. First, that individuals should be treated as autonomous agents, and second, that persons with diminished autonomy are entitled to protection. This ensures that each participant has the right to autonomy and to make decisions for themselves with full disclosure of their diagnosis, potential treatment, potential side effects, etc. Those with diminished autonomy than others may have the right to be protected while they are incapacitated from making an informed decision. Beneficence ensures that ethically that participants are not only respected for their decision and protects them from harm, but also by making efforts to ensure their well-being. Two general rules have been formulated as complementary expressions of beneficence actions in this sense. One is do not harm, and two is maximize possible benefits and minimize possible harms. Every study should maximize the benefit to their client while minimizing potentially harmful outcomes. Justice is what refers to what is due to participants for their participation in any study, and that all participants are treated equally. There are several formulas that can be used based on the burdens and benefits. These formulations are 1. To each person an individual share. 2. To each person according to individual need. 3. To each person according to individual effort. 4. To each person according to societal contribution. Or 5. To each person according to merit. Against this historical background, it can be seen how conceptions of justice are relevant to research involving human subjects. For example, the selection of research subjects should be scrutinized in order to determine whether some classes, such as welfare patients, particular racial or ethnic minorities, or persons confined to institutions, are being systematically selected simply because of their easy availability, their compromised position, or the manipulability, rather than for reasons directly related to the problems being studied. Finally, whenever research supported by public funds leads to the development of therapeutic devices and procedures, justice demands that both of these not only provide advantages to only those who can afford them, but to those that would be beneficiaries to the subsequent applications of this research. In conclusion, the Tuskegee syphilis study was one of the most atrocious crimes against humanity that was ever created and funded by our U.S. government. A few questions remain. Why was this study allowed to continue once penicillin was widely available after 1943? Why did they decide to continue this study when moral and ethical concerns had been brought up as early as 1965? Science, ethics, and humanity failed this group of men by failing to protect their rights and the welfare of its participants. The only positive outcome for this crime was the changes that it initiated to ensure that this mistake was never repeated again.